Paul Walter Hauser is an actor that I just absolutely loved. I was first introduced to him, of course, in Cobra Kai as the legendary Stingray, and I just fell in love with him as an actor and comedian with his role on that show. Fingers crossed he returns in the final season. But then I also saw him in Cruella, and I thought he was pretty great there as well. And I think those are the only two things that I've seen him in, but I know he's done a lot of other work as well. He won a bunch of awards for his performance in Blackbird, where he played a serial killer. So he's got some major range here, and he is such a phenomenal actor. So it's been really nice to see lately that he's been getting a lot of work. Initially, at one point, he was supposedly attached to Quentin Tarantino's The Movie Critic, in a leading role there. But if you've been following the news, that movie has been completely canceled and canned by Quentin Tarantino, so that's not even happening. But recently, he just joined 3 brand new movies. He was cast in... He was just cast as the lead in a Chris Farley biopic that's going to be directed by Josh Gad. That right there is one of my most anticipated movies of all time now. I love Chris Farley, and so the fact that we're getting a biopic of him and Paul Walter Hauser is, I think, the best choice ever for that role. So I'm really excited for that. There was another movie that the cast was just announced like yesterday, the day before, that I think he was a part of. And now today, it's been announced by Deadline that he has joined the cast of Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four. Paul Walter Hauser is coming to the MCU, and I am so excited about this. Because like I said, I just love Paul Walter Hauser, so the fact that he's joining the MCU is awesome, especially the Fantastic Four, because I love the Fantastic Four, and I'm really looking forward to this movie, and the cast just keeps getting more and more stacked. But, of course, the question is then, who is he playing? Because it wasn't announced the character that he's going to be portraying in the film. It's just he's been cast in an undisclosed role in Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four. And there's been a lot of theories out there. There's a lot of possibilities. Some people joking like, oh, he could be Doctor Doom or Silver Surfer, Norrin Rad. Now, that's, I guess, technically possible, but pretty unlikely. There's only 2 real options that I can personally think of. One, there is potential that he was cast as Galactus, because we know Galactus is going to be the main villain of this movie, and it's been said that supposedly they've been in talks with an actor for a while. It's been said it's Javier Bardem, but recently there's a report that went out that supposedly they're going to cast Galactus soon, and that actor would be announced in the coming days and weeks. So might just be a coincidence that this casting was announced right after that announcement was made, but that's a possibility. He could be Galactus. I think that would be cool. I think that would be an interesting choice. But what I think is more likely, and what is proving to be the most likely choice, is Moleman, which gets me so much more excited for this Fantastic Four movie. This instantly boosts my hype for Fantastic Four, because Moleman is one of my favorite Marvel villains. Such a wacky, obscure, low-level Marvel villain, but just one of my favorite Fantastic Four villains, because he is so weird and goofy and gross. But I've been waiting for the longest time to see him in live action. He was initially supposed to appear in Josh Trank's Fan 4 Stick. That didn't end up happening. But now he will be making his live action debut in the MCU for this Fantastic Four film. And this, I think, is perfect, because sure, we're getting Galactus and Silver Surfer, and they're going to be like the main villains of the movie, but Mole Man is the perfect character to be an introductory villain for the Fantastic Four, because especially since this Fantastic Four, this version of the team, it's supposedly an already established version of the team. So they're not doing an origin story. So to start off the film with the Fantastic Four already fighting a villain, and for that villain to be Mole Man, is perfect. Because Mole Man, he's not main villain material. We just have to face it. That's the truth. But for him to be an opening of the movie villain, that would be awesome. And this is something I'm so excited about. Now, you may be thinking like, oh, you're just like pulling Mole Man out of your butt. Like, where's this Mole Man thing coming from? We've heard nothing about Mole Man being in this movie. That may be true, But that all just changed last night when it was reported by Jeff Snyder over at the Snyder podcast that supposedly Moleman will reportedly make an appearance in the Fantastic Four. And it is currently unknown who will be playing him, but this announcement was just made by Jeff Snyder literally an hour or two after this Paul Walter Hauser casting was announced. So I don't think it's just a coincidence. But when it comes to Moleman being in this movie and Moleman being live action, Danny DeVito was the ideal fan cast for this. That's what we've all been saying for years. And still, I would have loved to have seen Danny DeVito as Moleman. But I will admit, he's probably a bit too old now at this point, but I still would have loved to see it. Another option is David Krumholtz. I did a video on this a couple of months ago about after losing out on the role of Ben Grimm, the Thing in the Fantastic Four, he said, hey, maybe I could play Moleman. And I thought that was a pretty cool idea. He's got the right look for it. But it looks like that may not be the case because instead we are getting Paul Walter Hauser as Moleman. Because even more evidence is last night, Paul Walter Hauser made a post on Instagram about this news of him getting cast in Fantastic Four, and somebody commented, please be Moleman and Paul Walter Hauser. He liked that comment. So, even further evidence that Paul Walter Hauser is playing Moleman in Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four, which I am so incredibly excited about. Again, not my ideal, first top choice or fan cast, or even an idea I even thought of, but it makes so much sense. Paul Walter Hauser as Moleman, just Moleman in the Fantastic Four in general, is something I'm so excited to see. Like I said, he's probably not going to be a big major role in the movie or anything like that, but still, nonetheless, this is something I'm incredibly excited for, and just cannot wait to see. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about Paul Walter Hauser joining the cast of Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four and all the signs pointing towards him playing Moleman? So, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so keep up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.